The Human Sciences Research Council, in partnership with IPSOS, conducted a survey looking at anti-immigrant sentiment in South Africa. The study was conducted with a view to understanding how refugees, asylum seekers and cross-border migrants are viewed in the country. To tell us about this study and what is driving anti-immigrant violence, we're joined by Dr. Stephen Gordon from the Human Sciences Research Council's Developmental, Capable and Ethical State Research Division. Dr. Gordon, quite a mouthful there, but good evening and thank you so much for your time tonight. Let's talk about the research that you conducted. What exactly were you looking into?
Well, as you know, xenophobia is a significant problem in South Africa, undermining social cohesion and damaging the reputation of the country on the continent. So we wanted to look at attitudes towards cross-border migrants and refugees in those 4 provinces where most of these communities live: Limpopo, Gauteng, the Western Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal. And unfortunately, we found that negative stereotypes about these communities were widespread in the towns and villages of these provinces. Many people describing refugees and cross-border migrants as violent, as dishonest, and fundamentally different from themselves. Many people linked immigration to a range of social problems, including disease, crime, and unemployment, despite the fact that there is little empirical evidence to support such allegations.
What was the methodology you used? Sorry to come in there, Dr. Gordon.
So this was a household survey. So we went to people's households, we knocked on the door, we introduced ourselves, we spoke to people 18 years and older. Then we used the data collected to form a provincially representative picture of the provinces in question, applying mathematical weights to our data sets so that we could obtain the most accurate picture possible.
I find it interesting that amongst your findings was that once locals had an opportunity to spend more time with non-nationals, they had a different picture of who they are, and that xenophobic sentiment also seemed to decline.
Yes, positive contact reduces anti-immigrant sentiment. And this suggests that a lot of the animosity towards international migrants emerges from a place of ignorance. Moreover, it shows us that integration programs, those programs that help immigrants become a more integral part of their communities, forging social and community relationships with organizations, individuals within the places they live, will help prevent the ostracization of cross-border migrants and refugees and promote more cohesive communities. Many countries have implemented policies of this kind, and they have both been economically beneficial to the host communities as well as culturally and socially beneficial. The lack of proper immigration policies has been acknowledged by the South African government and hopefully will form part of the current attempt to reform immigration legislation in our country.
Dr. Gordon, were you able to get to the bottom of what drives anti-foreigner sentiment? So where does it all stem from?
Well, there are many important sources of anti-foreigner sentiment. One of the things we were very interested in was where people got their information about immigration, because often this information is wrong. One of the things the HSRC has looked into is, we asked people, how many foreigners live in South Africa? And we heard some remarkably high numbers. Numbers that were beyond credulity, 10, 15 million. And of course, as you're aware, international migrants make up less than 7% of the total population. Yet people seem to think there was a deluge of international migrants living in the country. So we were very interested in where people got their information from. And so we asked people, what is the best, most trusted sources of information about immigration in South Africa, overwhelmingly people put forward the broadcast media, specifically television and radio. This shows us on which platforms we can meaningfully challenge some of the anti-immigrant sentiments that we see so prevalent in many communities.
It's so important what you're saying, because throughout the research there's the mention of the media not just in influencing perception but also in correcting some of the perceptions that might exist, seeing how trusted and reliable a source of information it's considered to be. And that forms part of your recommendations.
Absolutely. Like with any meaningful communication campaign, the key is to identify the most persuadable groups, find the platform which can best reach those groups, and then find the communicators who are trusted enough to engage with these communities. So, for example, while we would like politicians to not scapegoat international migrants and to adopt a more conciliatory and compassionate approach to this issue, many people distrust politicians, and they may not be the best communicators on this issue. Religious leaders and figures in the entertainment and sports industries may be better placed to reach the hearts and minds of ordinary people, convincing them to move to a more tolerant and compassionate place on this important issue.
Dr. Stephen Gordon, let me thank you so much for your time tonight. He is with the Human Sciences Research Council.